Alright, guys, so we've gone over how to simplify radicals. Now we're going to go over multiplying and dividing these things. It's really not that bad. This first example problem is 6 times, because it's the product means multiplication, 9 root 162. What you're going to do is if you have any plain old coefficient numbers like 6 and 9, you're just going to multiply them and you're going to have your answer. So, okay, 54, and you go root 162. And you start going down the list. Can I do anything with this root 162? I mentioned last year you could start with small numbers and work up. Might lead to some confusion and some possible tricks on you. Or you could start at bigger numbers and work down. I generally don't worry about too big of the numbers here. But if you took your standard multiplication table, it'll go up to like 12 times 12, which is 144. You go, gee, maybe it's 13 times 13? 169. Okay. So you can't divide it by 13. You can't divide it by 12. You keep going back, and eventually you will find pretty quickly that it divides by 81. So if I took 162 and divided it by 81, so I'm going to bring down this 54, and 81 times 2 is 162. This 81 here, this is 9 squared, or 9 times 9. So this is going to become a 9. I'm still going to have that root 2, and I have this 54. Now you guys can probably guess, they're going to multiply. 54 times 9 is 496. So I do 496 root 2. Hopefully I did that mental math correctly, because I decided to rush and do it in my head. And before I hit the button, I realized that it's not 496, it's 486. Yes, this is the downside of not checking your math and trying to go quick. So I go 486 root 2. Hopefully I'm right. 486, hit the root button, hit 2, hit submit answer. Yes, beautiful, good. Again, this is a lot like the last one. Now, if you see, I have two different radicals here. When you have two things that are written next to each other without a math sign, it's always going to be multiplying. So root 3 times root 30. So I essentially am going to treat this as a 3 times 30 under a radical, which is the square root of 90. And then I go, okay, starting to work backwards. Can I divide it by 100? No. 81? No. 64, you keep going, and eventually you will find that you can divide it by 9. So I will get the square root of 9 times 10, or 3 root 10. So, okay, 3 root 10, hit the 3, hit the root button, type the 10, hit submit answer. If you try to do this before you have done simplifying radical expressions, this is going to be a nightmare. If you've already done simplifying radical expressions and you've got a handle on it, this is going to be pretty straightforward. Because, all right, here's the next exact example problem I was hoping for. When we go to do this, you're going to consider the product. So, and please make sure you're reading these and you're seeing products as multiply or divide. If it doesn't say product, you're not multiplying. Don't make that mistake. But okay. 9 root 3 times 5 root 30. I'm going to just literally go 9 and 5. 9 times 5 is 45. And I'm going to go ahead and do 3 root 3 times root 30. Again, I'm just multiplying these numbers inside, and I'm going to have the square root of 3 times 30, or the square root of 90. I see if it simplifies. Well, we did this just a moment ago. I can know that, and this 45 can just come down, that 9 times 10 is 90. So in here, I'm going to change the color, I could have 9 times 10 And we know that that 9 simplifies to a 3. So I'm left with 3 times the root of 10. And okay, I have that 45 out front, which is multiplying. 45 times 3 is going to simply be 135. Root 10. You type that in, and you're going to have a good day if you got it right and you didn't make a mistake, like I almost did on the last one. Submit. Yes. Beautiful. Great. So I'm going to show you a quick division one. Express in simplest radical form. Well, two things touching. This is applying multiplication. So I'd multiply these and simplify. We just did a bunch like that. Express in simplest radical form. Again, multiplying. All right. Guys, we got a fraction here. Express in simplest radical form. Fractions, as you should all remember, are division. Are all the problems necessarily going to be divisions? No. Root 14 over square root of 2. Well, what do I do here? Well, let's pretend for a minute we didn't have these radicals. What if I was just looking at 14 over 2? Could I divide 14 by 2? Answer, yes. Now, you could have both of these under one radical. That's allowed. You could instead go, oh, I know what to do. Because you guys should remember that if you ever have the same number multiplying the top and the bottom in a fraction, you can cancel it. Like if I go, oh, 8 over 24 is really 8 over 8 times 3. And so I can just cancel these two 8s and get 1/3. Same idea exists with the radical stuff. So if I have the same number in the top and bottom, 14 I could have as root 2 times root 7. Put that over root 2 and do some canceling. Or you could put the fraction on the side of the radical like I did here and go, what's 14 divided by 2? Well, 7, but you still have your radical. Here I have that 7 off to the side and I have my radical. I personally like to put all the fraction stuff that works with each other on one radical. But regardless of how you do it, you should wind up doing some math that yields a radical with a 7 under it, or a root 7. Click the button, hit the 7, hit submit, hopefully you look good, and boom, great. New problem. All right, 112 over 8. Simply put, I'm going to go, can I simplify 112? Yeah, it's going to simplify somehow. I'm pretty sure it divides by 4 at the least. But we just go back down the list. Like, does it divide by 121? That's 11 squared. No. Divide by 100? No. Divide by 9? No. I keep going. Does it divide by 64? 49? Well, divide by 49? Nope, that's a decimal. Does it divide by 36? Maybe I have to do that one out. In this case, no, it's not going to divide by 36. Divide by 25? No. Divide by 16, which is 4 squared. That might actually be a thing. I'm pretty sure it does, but you guys would just bust out your quick calculator. Boom. Calculator. You go, okay, does 112 divide by 16? Answer is 7. Okay. So then we would just go back here and go, all right. So I'd have the radical of 16 times 7 over 8. Because 112 is apparently 16 times 7. Cool. Well, what's the square root of 16? That's going to be a 4. We have our root 7 still. We have it over 8. 4 over 8. You guys should be able to spot this and simplify it and say, oh, hey, that's 1 over 2, because that simplifies root 7. Well, heck, that's really just root 7 over 2. So I'm going to go radical button, 7 I'm going to hit an arrow key to make sure I'm out of the radical. I'm going to hit slash. Okay, I have that root 7 on top of 2. Hit submit answer. Hopefully I look good. Beautiful. Love it. Great. That's it. It's the same idea over and over and over. No need to worry, guys. So, be well. Remember, if you have questions, we have office hours. You can email us, Google Voice. Get in contact, get help.